right, we are on day 2 of review. Your homework for tonight is page 5 through 8 in the packet. Again, we should be able to get most of that done in class, just like we did yesterday. So the first one that you had to do on your own for homework was question 6. So you put this in a list and spreadsheet page, titled both columns, maybe you called it X or Y or something. Then you went menu, statistics, stat calculations, one variable stats. We always do one list. Now the difference here is, say if you called these X and Y, you would have put the first blank as X, and then the frequency you had to change to Y. You can't leave it as 1. That's different than the couple we did in class. We had our X bar to the nearest hundredth was 24.03. Notice here they surveyed 250 drivers. Well, that's not all of the cars on the road today, so that's just a sample, so we wanted to use the SX 5.39. The percent of cars that fall within one standard deviation of the mean, so take your mean, subtract standard deviation, mean, add the standard deviation, get 18.64, 29.42. So 18.64 would fall in between 18 and 19. 29.42 would fall in between here, in between the 29 and the 32, and then we would want all the ones in between there. So if you add those all up, there's 185 out of the 250 total. That would give you 0.74, so you would get 74%. Skip ahead 2 pages to the other ones that we hadn't done yet, starting with number 10. We had a norm CDF between 5.2 and 7.6. Mean was 6.4, standard deviation 0.8. Sub that in. Now that gives you the 0.866385. So that would be the percent of cats. But we wanted to know how many of the 128. So we then have to multiply that by 128. That gives us 110.89 cats. They wanted to the nearest cat, so that was 111 cats. So a little twist on the ones we did in class. We had to multiply by our total amount to find our total number of things, not the percent. Number 11 was just like number 6. Put those in a list and spreadsheet in one column. You get your mean. We get 12.587 or so. It's a sample of 16 crabs, so we want the SX. Subtract the mean, standard deviation, add them. The whole numbers that we would be between, 12 would be the first whole number. Or actually, I guess we're in tenths. So we should talk about it in terms of tenths. So the first tenths would be 11.1, and the last tenths would be the 14.0. So if you add those all up, we would get 11 of the 16. The ones that would not be included would be those ones and those ones. So that's 5 left that are out. So we have 0.6875 to the nearest percent. That would be 69%. And describe the shape of each. The one on the left would be a normal distribution, and the one on the right would be a left skew. So we will need calculators today. Please take those out. We're going to start on page 5. If you're borrowing a calculator, you must leave collateral, keys, phone in the box. Look on the back number. Write down your name on the whiteboard next to that number. At the end of the period, when you return it, erase your name next to that number. Return your calculator, and you can take your collateral back. There are 6 calculators in there now. I should have 6 when I come back tomorrow. If I have 7 or 8, meaning number 3 or 5 have been returned, that would make me even happier. All right, starting on page 5. So we're going to review probability today. When you have a two-way table, if they did not give you the totals, you would want to find the totals. But they gave us the totals for all of these. Now, there are 2 formulas that we are going to want to make sure we know. One is our and or formula. So you can write this right on top or at the front of the packet, whichever you prefer. So in your and or formula, we have the probability of thing A or thing B is equal to the probability of thing A plus the probability of thing B minus the probability of thing A and thing B. So again, you should be writing that down. If you're not writing that down, you're a little bit behind. You need to start doing that and following along. So that's a key formula that you need to know. Another one is our independence formula. This is our test that allows us to determine whether things are independent or not. So we do the probability of A and B, and we want to know, we don't know if they're equal, so we put the question mark above, is that equal to the probability of A times the probability of B? So that is our test for independence. So again, you should have both those written down because you'll want to refer to them, because you'll want to have those memorized for the final. Are the events student is a male and student prefers a reality series independent of each other? Well, what we have to use is our independence formula up there. So probability of A and B. So we want to see where male and reality series crisscross. Male and reality series crisscross at 70, and that's out of our 490 that are total. And we want to know, is that equal to probability of each of our individual things? So if we'll say thing A is probability of a male. Well, our total number of males is 230 over our overall amount of 490 times, what's the probability of a reality series? Well, overall for a reality series, we have 180 out of 490. Now you always want to punch in both sides because they might reduce. When we punch in the left, we will get 1/7. When we punch in the right, we will get 414 over 2401. Those are not equal. So the question said, are the events independent? So we would say no, they are dependent. Next up, we want to know what's the probability someone prefers drama given that they are female. Whenever you see that word given, whatever you are given is the row or column you should focus on. So we're given that they're female. That means we only want to focus on the female row. You should not take any numbers from anywhere except for the female row. So only looking at the female row, what is the probability someone likes drama? Well, here's drama. There's our total. So we'll have 70 over 260. It's up to you if you want to reduce, but you don't have to. Next one, we want male or prefers comedy. So we need our and or formula. So we want the probability of male or comedy. We know that is equal to the probability of male plus the probability of comedy minus the probability of male and comedy. So looking up at your chart. So male or comedy, that's what we want to find. So you can think of it as calling that like an X. The probability of a male, we have 230 males overall out of 490. Plus probability of liking comedy, we have 175 for comedy overall out of 490. And then minus, for the and, we want to see where they crisscross. So here's comedy, here's male, they crisscross at 95. So we're going to subtract off 95 out of 490. And if we punch that all in, we would either get 310 out of 490, or in reduced form, that's 31 out of 49. Either of those would be fine. Next, we're going to find the probability someone is male given they prefer drama. Well, whatever you're given, that is the row or column you should focus on. So we are focusing on drama only to start, and then we'll find the probability of a male. So focusing only on drama, so we should only use numbers in this column. Probability of a male would be 65 out of the total 135. And lastly, find the probability that someone is female and prefers a reality series. Well, when you have an and, you can just, and you've got the table, just look where they crisscross. So we want female and, female and reality series. So the box where female and reality series crisscross is right here, the 110. So we'll have 110 out of the total 490. So in general, ands and ors, or just single probabilities, are out of your overall total, so 490 in this case. If it says given, or if you're just focusing out of one thing, and you're finding a probability of another thing, that's when it's over one of the marginal totals. All right, let's flip to the next page. We have another two-way table. Notice they did give us all of the totals. Letter A, what is the probability the person is male and doesn't eat breakfast regularly? So and, we're just looking for where they crisscross. So look at the male column, doesn't eat breakfast regularly, so that's here, the 130. Ands, ors, and single probabilities go over the overall total. So 130 over 595. Next up, given that a person eats breakfast. All right, we should already know that we are only focusing on person eats breakfast row. So we're only looking at these numbers. Those are the only possible ones we should work with. So of those, what is the probability female? So female over the total, 110 over 300. What is the probability a person is female or doesn't eat breakfast regularly? So we need to use our and or formula. So we want probability female or I'm going to do, let's see, we'll do DE for doesn't eat breakfast. That should be equal to the probability of female plus probability that they don't eat breakfast minus the probability of female and they don't eat breakfast. So the thing we want to find is our or, so that's kind of like our x. Probability of female. Females, we have 275 over the total 595. Plus, probability doesn't eat breakfast. Well, your doesn't eat, those are 295 out of 595. And then for your and, see where those cross. Doesn't eat and female cross at 165, so we'll have minus 165 over 595. And if we punch that all in, we will get x is equal to 81 over 119. All right, last one for this question. Of the males. So this means we are only focusing on the males. So that's kind of like saying, given we have a male. So we're going to look at only the male section and then find the probability of eating breakfast. So if only the male section, eating breakfast is 190 out of the 320. Alrighty, so we're going to pause the video for a few minutes to let you try question 3. All right, in A, you should have done the and or formula. So we want the probability of 26 to 49 or prefers comedy. So that should be like an X. Probability of 26 to 49 should be 1,000 over 3,000. Plus probability prefers comedy. That should be 1,412 over 3,000. Minus the probability of both, which is where they crisscross, which is 472 over 3,000. when you type that in the calculator. If you had the non-simplified version, that would be 1940 over 3,000. Or if you had the reduced form, that would be 97 over 150. Of the people that are 50 plus years old, so that means you want to only look at the 50 plusers. What is the probability of liking horror? Horror out of our total, so we should have 190 out of 1,000. What is the probability of being 18 to 25 and preferring action movies? So we want 18 to 25 where it crisscrosses with action. So 18 to 25 and action crisscross there out of our total. So 238 over 3,000. And the last one, given that someone likes comedy, so you should only be looking at the comedy section. We want to know probability of 18 to 25, so 450 out of your total of 1412. All right, that's the last T-table or two-way table one we're going to do together. If you flip to page 7, we're going to work with our and or formula some more on this page. So we've got a suburban high school has a population of 1,376 students. The number of students who participate in sports is 649. Music is 433. And the probability a student participates in sports or music is that value there. What's the probability of our and sports and music? So we are going to do probability of sports or music. That should equal probability of sports plus probability of music minus probability of sports and music. So that's our and or formula. We know our or is 974 out of 1376. That's equal to our probability of sports, which sports was 649 out of our total 1376. Plus the probability of music, which was 433 out of 1376. Minus the and, which is what we're looking for, so we'll call that x. So if we get x by itself, we could subtract those two things over. And when you put that in the calculator, you'd either have negative 108 over 1376, or the reduced form would be negative 27 over 344. And that would still be equal to negative x. So we'd have to divide both sides by negative 1, and we get x is 27 over 344. All right, we're going to pause the video for 5 minutes and let you try both 5 and 6 on your own. All right, our probability of a sport. So first off, I guess we should have x equals, because we want our or, so we should have 0.76 plus probability of music, 0.52, minus the probability of both, the and, 0.41. So that should give you 0.87, and they wanted it as a percent, so 87%. And number 6, they told us that the or was 0.80. Summer being the favorite was 0.65. We don't know the individual for the streaming services, but we know that the and for summer and streaming services is 0.37. So this will give us 0.80. 0.65 minus 0.37 should give us 0.28 plus x. When we subtract over the 0.28, we should get 0.52 equals x. And they asked for a percent, so that would be 52%. All right, we're going to stop there for the video, and the rest of the period is yours to finish pages 5 through 8. If you've gone to the bathroom at all during the period and missed problems, it is your responsibility to do those problems. You must have all of 5 through 8 completed in order to get credit for the homework.